Eze is a frustrating asset to have. The whole world come, but in the meantime, you gotta hold through this kind of periods. Objectively, in a vacuum, he is still a good player. Will probably, end the season with a good amount of FPL points, but there are just better players that you can have in the short term right now.
I mean, if you want a nailed midfielder from a mid-table team who's on penalties, Bruno Fernandes is right there, right?
Oh, this is the thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Banger Show. My name is Siva. I'm joined by Sam. Gameweek 5 is in the book, Sam, and I just need to ask you, Sam, have you ever spoken to like a celebrity? Have you ever met someone famous?
I mean, we spoke to John Anrise. Does that count?
Sam, let's be real. Kids don't know who John Anarisa is, right?
Okay. Where are you going with this, Siva?
I mean, where I'm going with this is just because I recently became famous. I don't know if you know, Sam, but as you can see, for those who aren't watching the YouTube, I am now the 4th highest content creator in all of FPL based on points. And if you don't count triple captains, I'm actually the 2nd.
What? Oh, okay. Some of them use triple captain on Haaland.
Some of these losers use their triple captain in a single game week, which is, to me, that's like, what's the word? It's heresy, right? It's sacrilegious to use a triple captain in a single game week, but you do you. But yeah, I'm the 2nd highest.
Am I right? Am I right saying Walsh from FML has used his bench boost and triple captain?
And his wildcard. I mean, this is a man who is not messing about.
Wow. Anyway, I'm happy for you, Siva. I'm happy that at least half of this podcast is good at FPL.
I think it's a collaborative effort, Sam, because I take all the input from you and then I put it into my team, because I tell you something, you tell me something.
Tone down the craziness a bit and then adjust your team forward.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about you are the Owen to my Heskey.
Oh, the Dwight York to your Andy Cole.
More dated references. We will lose what little youth audience we have.
Suarez to your Sterling.
Suarez to Sterling. We're getting a bit more current. That's good. I should note, by the way, I'm not actually on FPL Game Week's content creator list. I think they looked at us preseason and I was banned because I don't have Nkunku or something like that. I don't know. Doesn't matter. In a few weeks' time, I will be well clear of this list anyway. So who cares? Let's move on. Okay, so enough self-indulgent. How's my team doing? How's your team doing, Sam? But actually, to be fair,
no one wants to know how my team's doing because I do not have Haaland. But I would like to say, 3 weeks ago, I told everyone that he can't keep this up. And I've been right. He went from 3 goals a game to 2 goals a game and now only 1 goal a game. It's washed.
And probably should have had a few red cards this week, to be fair.
Yeah. Very dangerously, almost broke Gabriel's neck off.
Would you agree with me? I don't know. Some people had different views about that game. Let's talk about football for a sec. I found that second half one of the most compelling games I've seen since maybe Inter Barca 2010, which also had Pep, by the way.
Cool. Yeah. A lot of people give Arsenal shit for the way they played, but I mean they were 1 man down. What else do you expect them to do? And they almost pulled it off. So credit to them. Credit to Arsenal. They were minutes away from coming away with an away win at Etihad with 10 men. Would have been amazing. And I think you would take the draw, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you told Arsenal fans going into this game week 6 that we would take 7 points from Spurs away, Villa away, and City away, you'd have bitten your hands off for it. So no, it's an excellent result. But it's so enjoyable. It kind of just reminds you, as an Arsenal fan wearing a Chelsea kit, I might add, this is what Arsenal fans have wanted for years. We wanted a team that was solid, will fight to the last end to try and keep a clean sheet. with that in mind, Sam, bringing it back to FPL, in terms of wildcarders this week, everybody's on wildcard except for you and me because we are the cool kids who've already played our wildcard. But let's try and empathize
Played
and
the
also
Wildcard before,
try and
that's cool.
exactly and let's try and figure out how we defeat these people who are activating their chips this week, and maybe help others. Are Arsenal attackers on your wildcard? If you were wildcarding this week, are you going to have an Arsenal forward?
I would only have Saka right now. I have Saka in my team. I think last game week I identified him as probably the only attacking asset you will want from Arsenal. I think without Odegaard, it just doesn't look as cohesive. The only one I was looking at was Havertz, but without Odegaard, he's playing deeper back, so you don't really want him. Last season he scored all his points when he was playing as a forward, right? And it showed in the City game. I think there's a stat that came out that he had 0 passes completed in 89 minutes of football. So maybe don't get Havertz. I don't really see anyone else. So just Saka for me. And I think Saka's a season keeper, He does well in tough fixtures, easy fixtures, doesn't matter. He's always returning, Mr. Consistent. I would keep him in my team the whole season.
Okay. I won't draw too many conclusions from the City game because I think Havertz's poor stats are reflected by the fact that first he's playing best team in the league. Secondly, they were down to 10 men. I think Arsenal as a whole had something like 30 completed passes in the second half, and City had 300. So I wouldn't draw too much from that particular game, but I will agree with you that Havertz's positioning is a concern because we are now playing Trossard and Havertz as sort of joint number 10s or alternating strikers, whatever you want to call it. We're still working it out. But I will say this, I think Leicester and Southampton next are as easy a fixture as you will get. So I'm not averse if somebody wants to still go Havertz. I think it's fine. In fact, I would say Havertz had fairly decent attacking involvement in the Spurs game. He was quite high up the pitch and getting on the end of things. So I don't think he's a bad pick and cheaper than Saka, which helps a lot. But speaking of cheap picks, Sam, so we got on the screen now, João Pedro, who, this is a picture from his Instagram yesterday, very kindly let one of his friends park their crutches behind his TV, which is really nice of him. What are you doing? I mean, I guess you don't care about João Pedro, Sam, because you took a firm decision to thrust Chris Wood into your team, and he has, brought you a climax of points already. So
yeah, he's been solid, right? Chris Wood does what Chris Wood wants, which is return 1 goal a game.
from one shot, I might add, which was a penalty.
Yeah. Well, points are points. I know it's kind of hypocritical to say that after, we gave Vardy shit for having 2 goals and 3 shots. But, outcome bias maybe. Anyway, back to João Pedro. I wouldn't take the risk if I'm on Wildcard. I wouldn't have the risk of, unless, you're building such a strong team that you can leave him on your bench. Even then, I don't know. I think this, if you're on Wildcard, is a good opportunity to get rid because Brighton's fixtures aren't so good looking forward anyway.
Yeah, man on crutches feels like probably a good indication, but it's always wary because I remember Bruno, I think, had a picture of crutches in one of his Instagram photos a few years ago, and then he just showed up anyway. So is this
it's
João Pedro
old crutches, like from a previous injury, and he just leaves it behind the TV. Just so happened that's where he stores his crutches.
I mean, real FPL, OGs will remember analyzing a Harry Kane picture from like 6 years ago. I think 3 days before we all activated triple captain. He had like a red nose, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's got a cold, man! Don't do it." And he actually did. He actually did have a cold, and I got like 3 points from that triple captain. So maybe there's a lesson to be learned. Do overanalyze Instagram photos.
I think it was a three year in a row where the popular triple captains were Kane, Mane, and Sané, and all 3 of them blanked. So, lesson here is do not follow the popular triple captaincy. Whenever everyone is triple captaining someone, do not follow.
Yeah, all you Game Week 2 triple captainers, you will pay because you went with the popular route. Okay, so No João Pedro, Chris Wood, good option. Actually, before we sort of move on to midfielders, you can see who we've got on the screen now. Sam, to wrap up, forwards, I still feel like it's a really bad market. Like, I struggle to think of 3 forwards I want in my team. It's Haaland, and then, I mean, maybe Watkins, but it's
maybe.
really expensive. He's really expensive for what he's giving you. It's not. The fixtures tighten up pretty soon. He's still not the main 90-minute guy. Yes, he's playing long minutes. He came off in injury time this week, but he's still, I don't know, good, but is he essential? I'm not sure. And then beyond Watkins, you name
Chris
me.
Wood.
Okay, Chris Wood. Okay, Chris Wood. And then name me a 4th guy.
It's a shame with Wisa's injury because I think he would have been everyone's favorite, maybe even second choice forward coming in. There's still Kevin Lewin, who has a great run of fixtures. Yes, he didn't return last week, but the fixtures still look very green moving forward. Other than that, you're right, Siva. This has kind of been the case in the forward market, especially since Kane left, I think. Basically killed Aubameyang, Kane left, and then we are left with no more forwards, no more strikers. I can put a case for... Wait, Siva, don't you have Xerxes?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can see what this dumb United manager can't see, which is you don't take off Xerxes, who's linking all your attacks after an hour. And immediately after that, United attack fell apart because they had no focal point. But let's not waste time on Xerxes. See, this is a problem. I'm paying 7 million for a decent attacker who's subject to the whims and fancies of a ball man who doesn't know what he's doing. So, got to stop insulting ball people on this podcast.
Okay,
so
I have one. I have one, Siva. I have one
Name-
forward, which is Dominic Solanke, who I was quite impressed this week. And I think moving forward, he has some good fixtures coming up. United, Brighton away. And then West Ham, Palace, Villa, Ipswich, City. It looks decent, scoreable fixtures. He did play 87 minutes. He did score a goal. Manager said some good things about him. He will be their focal point. He's their only recognized striker in the team. So I think Solanke is my cheeky pick this week if I had to go for one.
Yeah, I see that. I think that's the key word, right? If you had to go for one, like, I think Solanke is fine if you put a gun to my head and force me to have 3 playing forwards, but he's not someone I desperately want in my team. We still don't know if he's on pens. My guess is he's not. I would assume Son keeps them, which kind of makes him less important. I think Spurs fixtures are okay. They aren't
these
amazing.
scoreable fixtures, I guess.
Scoreable fixtures, and this is a team that doesn't defend anyway, so fair enough. But I guess my issue is, you with midfielders, you have so many exit routes, so many options, so many places to go, and that's kind of what FPL is about, right? It's about finding the one guy and then you escape to the next guy. You have 3 to 4 decent forwards in this game. You go into a wildcard with 3 playing forwards. Within 2 weeks, you're already, what do I do now? So I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. I think the ideal structure would be a 3-5-2 because there's just so many more options in midfield compared to forwards. I think 2 playing forwards is good enough. Yeah. Jefferson's my third forward, so I'm happy with that.
Exactly. Yeah, Jefferson, you're not missing out. So, speaking of 7 million, since people are going to spend 7 million on somebody like Solanke, let's come back to Luis Diaz. And so we're going to get a bit casual here, but I don't really care because all the engaged managers have looked at the algorithms and have decided Luis Diaz not a pick. 3 double-digit hauls, not good enough for them. They want someone who plays 90 minutes every week, like Bruno Fernandes, proven FPL asset. So
I think that's if I'm not mistaken, Diaz and Bruno has roughly the same XG.
Oh, they have the exact same XGI.
Exact same XG. XGI, okay, which is
so XG involvement. So
XG plus XA.
Yes, expected goals plus expected assists. So they have the same, identical. One is on 15 points, and the other one is the top scorer in FPL.
One's on 15 and one's on 51. So it's kind of poetic.
It is very poetic. neither of us have owned Diaz the whole season, so there's no bias here. But to me, it seems like a bit of overthinking to not include somebody who has already bagged 3 double-digit hauls in 5 weeks, who plays for the third best team at least in the league. It's an attacking team. Their fixtures haven't been great. I mean, they've been okay fixtures, but it's not like as if Liverpool haven't played Southampton. They haven't played Wolves yet. They haven't played Everton yet. In fact, they do play Wolves this week. And
Yeah.
if I can show you, this is what Wolves have been doing over the last few months, losing every single game they have. So
Yes.
why is Luis Diaz not in everyone's wildcard team?
I think it should be. I think he's maybe even the best Liverpool asset to have over Salah. Of course, Salah, you have safety, consistency, and all that. Luis Diaz a bit more exciting, and he does look like he's the main beneficiary of. I mean, Salah still gets into attacking positions. Don't get me wrong, but he has kind of, how do I put it, matured his play a bit in the sense that he's not only always looking for goals. His XA has gone up in the past few seasons, and I think this season his XA is more than it has ever been since he's joined the Premier League. So he's balancing the creating with the goals, and Diaz looks like the main beneficiary of it. I like Diaz. We both had Jota, so would you go Jota to Diaz? How about that? Or will it seem like a sideway move?
I'm tempted to do that. I still have Jota, and I'm probably going to do that. And the reason for that is because I think the reason people aren't doing it is because they got burned by Jota. But you and I have always discussed how 2 mistakes don't add up to 1 correct decision. That's not how it works, right? Just because Jota didn't turn out to be the pick that we wanted him to be, that doesn't have any bearing on Diaz. Diaz still has the same issues Jota had, which is minutes. Diaz, even this week, didn't play 90 minutes, but he's scoring every week in the 70 minutes he gets. And he's cheaper than Salah, right? He's, even if he rises another time, he's still going to be 8 million. He's got more minute security than somebody like Foden. People seem happy to pay. He's got, I'd say, better minute security than Cole Palmer, and people are willing to pay 10.6 for a guy who comes off on 60 minutes. So and again, let's talk about Liverpool fixtures, right? Let's jump ahead back to the FDR chart, right? Are these fixtures so hard? Liverpool play Wolves next. To me, easy fixture. Wolves are in free fall. They play, and also Wolves will be missing Mosquera, their centre back. He got injured in the last game, so they'll be playing their second choice centre back and Craig Dawson, who is 50 at least. Okay, so then they play Palace in Gameweek 7. I don't think Palace keeping a clean sheet against United is evidence of anything. It's United, and
they
Palace
were
gave
kind
up
of
a lot
lucky,
of.
I would say.
Yeah. First half, it was all United. Until the Xerxes sub, it was all United. They play Chelsea. I don't see Chelsea as a solid defense. They still give up loads of chances. Arsenal, yeah, Game Week 9 is hard. But if people are saying they want Saka, I mean, you're still going to have some issues in Game Week 9, and Diaz is 2 million cheaper. Brighton, I don't see as a strong defense. Villa, I love Ezri Konsa. I have him.
They've been conceding non-stop.
They start off by conceding and then figure out what to do next. So, bottom line is, I don't see these fixtures as being that difficult, and I'm stunned that I'm seeing wildcard drafts with Bruno Fernandes still in and Luis Diaz. Nah, not interested. It's okay. I'll wait for your next 6 double-digit hauls, so then I'll think about it.
I would do Diaz. If I was on wildcard, he would be in my team 100%. So yeah. You see, I think the fact that Jota didn't even come on as a sub scares me. The fact that Darwin scored scares me as well. So I think maybe the drop off in Jota and Darwin is not as big in the manager's eyes compared to Gakpo and Diaz. Although, there is always an element of risk. The next game, Gakpo could start because the manager did say something like that in the Champions League. Before the Champions League match, he said that last weekend he wanted to start Gakpo, but Gakpo couldn't or something like that, right? To that effect. So there's always a risk there. There is a risk. But sometimes you just gotta get the players who is in form. If he's having a purple patch, get in on that. Once it dies down, once he loses space, sell him out. It's not like if you bring him in a wildcard, you have to keep him in for a minimum of 20 game weeks. There are transfers for a reason.
Yeah, and he's not. He's eight. I mean, he's going to be 8 million by the time this podcast drops. Probably that's not a life-changing amount of cash. It's not going to break your team. It's again, as long as you and I hope you're on wildcard, you're going to have a playing bench. People aren't going to come back in with Ross Stewart and Tuanzebe and I don't know who else. Dibbling. But to be fair, a lot of people want to talk Tyler Dibbling. But bottom line is this: I think 8 million for Luis Diaz. I think it's a risk worth taking. And one thing I will say about Diaz is there is a certain added level of composure to his game that I haven't seen before. That first goal, there's a lot of work to be done. A lot of people blame Kepa for coming out, which he was quite silly, and he did come out. But I was watching Liverpool's official YouTube channel, which is surprisingly informative. They have like an analysis panel. They have like a former Liverpool attacker, Neil Mellor, for those who remember back in the day. Not that good, but still good insight. And they talked about how Diaz has a lot of work to do because the kick comes from Konate, like way back in his half. Diaz has to control it, and with his first touch, he beats two people. He beats Kepa and the defender. He takes it wide. He still then has to kick it back towards goal, which is like the completely other direction. And he does all that. And I think that's good. I mean, there's confidence. It's something about Luis Diaz. I think we discussed at the start of the season. Consistency has always been his problem, right? End product. He looks good in patches, but never really could put it all together. Now that it's working, and he's not Lingard, right? He's not playing for West Ham. He's playing for the third best team in the league. So this feels like a low risk gamble to take. Is basically my point.
Yeah. Fair, I think. Fair point, Siva. I think we are both hot on Diaz.
Okay. You like to see it. Okay. So let's talk about, I guess, some other picks here. Since we're on midfielders, right? I guess Salah, right? So a lot of people have decided Salah not needed on wildcard. I feel like that is recency bias. Like I think if you flip the halls, if he had got the 17-pointer this week, people would change their minds. But because it's been 2 weeks, no big hauls, people feel safe. What do you think?
I think it's interesting. If you have Haaland, right, and you're trying to save some cash, you want to forego Salah for Diaz, I'm okay with that. Yeah. So, but in my case, I don't have Haaland, then I gotta have Salah. It's the next best FPL asset. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with having Diaz instead of Salah because there are a lot of midfield picks right now. I think there are probably maybe 10 viable midfielders that you can pick from. So sacrifices have to be made. If you want to get in on another team's points, then yeah, maybe sacrificing Salah is worth it.
I'm struggling to see it because I have had Salah from the beginning, but I think I will appreciate that for those who didn't, it's harder to build a proper team with him now because of team value. So I will concede that point. And in that sense, yeah, I can see why you go without. You can make it a more balanced team. You mentioned Saka earlier on, right? Arsenal fixtures feel to me like it's being slightly overblown how good this run is. It's two very good fixtures. Then it's Bournemouth, which is decent. And then it's three. Okay, I mean, again, Newcastle, Chelsea, not hard fixtures, but the way Arsenal are playing as it stands feels slightly more defensive. Even if, like, we'd probably settle for a 2-0 victory. Do you really need to spend 10 million on Saka, or do you just get Raya, Gabriel? I've seen some people with triple Arsenal defense.
Triple's a stretch, but double is good. I think.
I mean,
I have faith in Arsenal more than an Arsenal fan, apparently. Mostly in Saka, I think. It's just Saka. It's not so much the Arsenal's attack as a whole. I just have faith in Saka to continue to return points even when the fixtures are bad. So I guess for me, because I don't have Haaland, I have the money. I can do these kind of things. Yeah.
I guess the one thing that can't argue against Saka is he's got so many routes to points, right? He's got set pieces, he's got goal threat from open play, he's got pens. And so every week he will just get one of those things and he's just going to keep taking over. I mean, even against City, right? They took the same corner like 3 times and then eventually went in. So
Yeah. Yes, I think it's the kind of player that you just kind of leave him in your team. Let the points slowly tick over. There won't be many double-digit hauls. Not really a captainable asset as well. But, points will tick over, and at the end of the season, you'll be happy that you had him in.
Not a captainable asset, Sam. That's interesting you say, because
No, I mean, in most weeks. Now, against a newly promoted team at home, against Leicester, against Southampton, then yes. But other weeks, not as much as Salah, as Haaland.
fair. Let's sort of come down in budget. Oh, well, sticky around the premium mids. So Saka, yes, good. What do you think? Palmer, Son, where you at? Son returned 2 assists this week.
Very tempting. Like I said, so many midfield assets that you can choose from. I think Son will always be a good asset, to have objectively. It's just, are there better assets that you can have who have more favorable fixtures who are cheaper? Then the answer is yes. So he's someone that I had to sacrifice in my team, although, I will always be happy to have Son, because I think over the seasons he's proven to be a good FPL asset.
I don't know if you saw Ben Krellin's wildcard team. He wildcarded in Gameweek 5, and people thought he'd been hacked because he had triple Spurs, he had no Haaland, and he still had Bruno Fernandes.
Okay.
That's Ben. I mean, I know why he did it. He just some of these people will take FPL review and the algorithms to sort of the letter, right? And if you follow it religiously, in fact, the algorithms will tell you not to have Haaland because he's too expensive and can't keep this up. I mean, that's just how the algos look at it. They prefer more balanced teams. What do you think about Spurs? Because I think a lot is being made out of one good result against a Brentford team who, as much as I love Brentford, they have no defenders. Like they have no defensive midfield. All their wingbacks are injured, and I don't think much of people like Ethan Pinnock as a defender. Anyway, I don't think Flecken's a great keeper. I think a lot is being made of one good Spurs performance.
I think they have scoreable fixtures coming up. That's pretty much about it. And they attack well. They have, I think Son is a good asset, but really expensive. So for that price, there are better assets. I think Solanke is a good striker to have because there are not many other forwards, and he's decently priced. So he's all right. Madison is interesting, I think, really under the radar, but has been ticking over and doing well. And apparently has the second highest XGI in the entire game. Do you know that, Siva?
I've seen. I mean, unfortunately, I'm on Twitter, so I've seen that stat flying around. But I was quite surprised. And Madison's mom told him to stop taking off his shirt because she doesn't like losing fantasy points.
Yeah.
That's the parent I want, basically.
The thing about Madison is that even since last time, he's always been kind of frustrating. Because weeks where he don't play well, he's pretty much invisible in the team, and then you have a week where he's on fire. So he'll be frustrating, but if you can hold him through, a nice run of games, yeah, I think he'll be a good asset. He was really good at the first half of last season, I think, as well, before he got injured, right? But that's about it from Spurs, for me. And I just think, yes, it's scoreable fixtures. It can be a nice differential, but there are just so many other midfielders, so many other, players from other teams that may be better.
You're not liking Pedro Porro while he is 5.5 and plays for a team that has, I think, 3 clean sheets this year.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't trust a team that has only kept 3 clean sheets in a year.
Yeah, one of them was against Sheffield United on the final day. So
yeah.
Another one was against Everton. Yeah, I'm not sold on Spurs defense. I'm not interested. And as I said, I remains to be seen how I'm not ready to buy this revival just yet. Coming down in budget. So we talked about Luis Diaz. We can skip that. Um,
Brian
do,
Mbeumo, I think, is the number one midfielder to have, in my opinion.
mm,
Should be the first name in anyone's team. If you make a free transfer, bring him in this week. If you got a wild card, he has to be there. He's returned really consistently. 4 goals already, and a beautiful run of fixtures coming up. West Ham and Wolves both at home, both teams who are, you know, in shambles basically. Then United away, Ipswich at home, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Everton away, Leicester at home, Villa away. I think he could score goals in any of these fixtures for the next 10 game weeks. So Brian Mbeumo has to be in your team.
you don't have to. I mean, I think we both had Mbeumo in game week 3. I've kept him since. I'm easiest pick ever. He is the main man in this Brentford team. And I think after seeing this week, I wouldn't touch anybody else from Brentford. We spoke about Schade and Carvalho in the last week, and we said they're interesting options, and that's all they are. They are interesting. Neither of them is nailed. I don't think Thomas Frank, we said this last week, right?
Yeah.
We don't know who Thomas Frank wants. He probably doesn't know because he spoke so highly of Schade in the press conference and then picked Carvalho over him anyway. He's still figuring it out. So, I mean, why rush that and have 5.5 million or 4.8 million tied up when you've got other playable options at the same price?
Agreed. Other than
And I
that,
don't
Siva,
like.
are you? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I mean, the one thing I'd say about just West Ham and Wolves being a shambles, right? I mean, you have to really watch the West Ham Chelsea game to appreciate how bad West Ham are, because all of the goals were just, I don't know, high line with no pressure, basically, right? Guys pushing up and just not playing an offside trap. Nicholas Jackson walked to most of his goals. He didn't really need to do anything amazing to
Oh,
even get
yeah.
in.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Nico Jack.
We did not.
Just quickly then, do you think he's a viable forward pick?
Well, there's a stat that's going around all the football shows this week about how Nicholas Jackson, since the start of last season, has more non-penalty goals than Solanke, than Salah, than Havertz, and a bunch of other guys. So he's clearly doing something right. I guess the issue with Nicholas Jackson is, one, again, Chelsea still have a lot of options. Two, he's still not a 90-minute man. I'm going to contradict myself because I said I was okay with Diaz not being a 90-minute man. But with Jackson, it's a bit, how shall I put it? I think Maresca's a bit more volatile. You saw he came off against Bournemouth and Nkunku came on and scored the winner. So that's a bit worrying. Also for Chelsea, first of all, I don't trust the team as much as compared to Liverpool. And I don't think Chelsea's fixtures are as good. In fact, you look at this ticker we have lovingly stolen from Reddit. And Chelsea are bottom third. Brighton, Forest, Liverpool, Newcastle, United, Arsenal. I think the good fixtures have largely come and gone.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. All right. Back to midfielders.
Okay, so we had Mbeumo. Eze, what do you think? Another week of dodging halls?
Like I said last week, Eze is a frustrating asset to have. The haul will come, but in the meantime, you gotta hold through this kind of periods. Personally, I would have. If I'm on wildcard, I wouldn't have it in my team because I just think there are other better assets to have. Objectively, in a vacuum, he is still a good player. Will probably end the season with a good amount of FPL points, but there are just better players that you can have in the short term right now.
I mean, if you want a nailed midfielder from a mid-table team who's on penalties, Bruno Fernandes is right there, right?
Yes, Siva. Yes.
I mean, let's humor the people who are still interested. For the 3 people who still want to get Bruno Fernandes because they saw him on Andy's team yesterday. What do you think, Sam?
I think do not. But you know who you should get? Alejandro Garnacho.
I will concede you are being proven right. Ten Hag probably is listening to the pod. Garnacho is getting more and more minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, the fixtures aren't so great, and If I was wildcarding this week, well, I still have Garnacho. I am not sure because I think there are just so many other options that you could get. We haven't even talked about Semenyo, who has two beautiful, beautiful fixtures coming up: Southampton at home, then Leicester away. Now after that, Arsenal, Villa, City. A bit of a horror 3-game run. You could sell, or you could bench if your team, if you can. Because after that, he has a nice run of fixtures again after those 3. But you could sell him. Just get him for these 2 weeks. Come on, I mean, fixtures don't really get much better than this.
Or if you've got a setup where you've got maybe a rotational setup, you rotate him with someone like, I would say, Chris Wood probably is an option. Forest play Palace and West Ham in 8 and 10. You could rotate him with DCL if you wanted to go there. They play Ipswich, Southampton in those weeks. I don't mind that.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Smith Rowe. Siva, you want to chime in on that as a Smith Rowe owner?
Very happy. I foolishly benched him this week, but was saved by Arne Slot deciding that Jota didn't need any minutes. Won't never do that again. Smith Rowe was, again, excellent. He's doing everything that Prime Smith Rowe used to do, which is score these goals that people keep saying, oh, the keeper should have saved it. But it's just because he takes the shots really quickly, and it's almost deceptive in the way he does it, these sort of deceptive toe pokes. So very good. I'm quite impressed with Fulham. I suppose we didn't talk about Raul Jimenez, who's 5.4 million, back in form, has lost the protective headgear, so that's got to give you plus 10 on heading, I would think. Yeah, Fulham look really good. I'm quite happy to hold Smith Rowe, and I get that people keep saying to me that these fixtures are hard, but once again, I mean, colors are just playing tricks on you, is what I would say. Forest is an okay fixture. City's hard, but Edison's always good to concede 1 goal. Villa don't keep clean sheets. Everton bad. Brentford bad. Palace bad. Why are these fixtures so hard?
Yeah, and I think Fulham also has seemed quite attacking this season, surprisingly. They've only failed to score in the very first game against United, and you could argue that they should have. They really should have scored that game. And since then, they've been scoring every single game. And Smith Rowe has been a real focal point in their attack. So if they're going to score, he's involved somewhat. Yeah, I think Smith Rowe, if you're on a wild card, he should be there in the team.
Sort of a sidebar here. We took this from Sky Sports. Second for expected assist from open play, Sam. An old friend. Adama Traore.
I still wouldn't go there though. I would go Smith Rowe because the price difference is not that big. So how much is Smith Rowe now?
5.8.
8? Okay, so it's a 0.7 difference, which is quite a lot. But I don't know. I would not put Adama Traore in my team, no matter how many stats you throw at me, Siva.
It's your this is your pass bias fully kicking in. PTSD
maybe,
basically.
But sometimes past bias maybe, but it's also experience, and you gotta learn from experience, Siva.
Okay, all right, fair enough. The other guy on this list, Morgan Rogers, finally returned this week. Sam, have you seen the light? Are you convinced? Morgan Rogers, he is the man. He is him.
I mean, if I was looking for a 5.2 midfielder, then possibly, yeah. I'm not, because I don't have Haaland and I have a lot of money. But if I needed the cash, yes, I guess he finally returned. Although Siva, you do know that Adama Traore has more points than Morgan Rogers. And
give it time, my friend. Give it time. Morgan Rogers. There are only 5 Villa players who have played full 90s this season, and Morgan Rogers is the only attacker amongst that group.
Okay.
Unai Emery loves this man with a passion. He is ridiculously cheap for the role he gives. He was unlucky not to return before this. The returns are just going to start flowing, man. You just got to see it.
Yeah, I think for that price, there's basically no risk, right? Even if he blanks, even if he has 2-3 points a game, that's fine for a 5.2 million midfielder.
Yeah, Max Bones this week, and he plays Ipswich, and no one else is watching Southampton Ipswich because they have lives. But for people like me who sat down and watched Southampton Ipswich, Ipswich were really, really bad. Like another stat here, you'll see Cameron Archer's top of XG performers who didn't score. That's because Cameron Archer is a really bad championship forward. But he had so many chances against Ipswich, and his failure to convert them means that I want the next attacker playing them, and that's Villa attackers. And Cameron Archer is a failed Aston Villa forward. So let's get the real thing now. Let's you got Watkins, I've got Rogers. I think we're gonna have big hauls this week.
Yeah. I see Bruno Fernandes there at number 3, Siva, on this graph. Highest XG without scoring for those of you who are not watching and just listening. There's a lot of Bruno slander in this episode, Siva. Not sure I agree with it, but I
Yes.
can't.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I agree with it, but I can't exactly argue against it either. So
I mean, some of it's playful banter. Obviously, I think Bruno's been unlucky, but we've been here so many times before. I mean, I can clip you all the FPL podcasts from last year, this same time, and the same thing. Bruno's unlucky, hold, keep the faith. Let's be real. You're going to sell Bruno, he's going to score the week after, and you're going to post something about how you should have kept the faith, and we'll do this all over again next season. So, I mean, who cares, man? All right, so back on mids, right? Okay, we talked Morgan Rogers, we talked Semenyo. About Semenyo, are you tempted at all by Marcus Tavernier, or is that too hipster for you?
I think Tavernier has stats always flatter him, even since last season. Do you remember we had a period where we were deciding between a Bournemouth midfielder and Tavernier always seemed like the best pick statistically, but I think Semenyo has proven to be the one. I'll go Semenyo. I think he just offers more than Tavernier.
Yeah, Tavernier has all the set pieces. Semenyo is the one who seems to be more open play, but I guess for these next two fixtures, you kind of want the open play attacker because these are teams who may struggle to defend. And Bournemouth, to be fair, created more than 1 XG against Liverpool. So you have to like their chances in these easier fixtures. Okay, so that's Bournemouth covered. Any other midfielders we haven't, we're missing?
No, I think we pretty much covered everyone of interest.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White's red card. I mean, neither of us ever went near Gibbs-White, but does his red card worry you in any way about Forest attack, or they're so cheap you don't care?
Yeah.
And it's only one game.
Yes, exactly. Only one game. He's kind of cheap. Chris Wood 6.1. Yeah, maybe it might affect the open play goals, but Chris Wood doesn't need open play goals.
True. I think the last few Gibbs-White owners threw something at their screens when they saw that Wood was taking the pen. But yeah, 6.1 for a guy on penalties, man. That's amazing. Okay, so that's mids covered. Do we need to talk about defenders on Wildcard? It feels pretty obvious. I guess the only question is, how much do you spend? Do you go full premium, or are you still going to have some cheap guys?
I mean, you need Trent, that's for sure, in the team. You need an Arsenal defender, I would say. Whether that's Raya or Gabriel or both. I think, I don't know, defense seems kind of easy now. I think there's only one proper talking point in defense, which is what to do with Rico Lewis. Do you keep him now that Rodri is out? Walker was at fault for a few of the goals last weekend, although one of it was the referee's fault apparently. But yeah, so with that, would you keep Rico Lewis if you were wildcarding?
It's tough, right? I think Pep has clearly more faith in Kyle Walker than I predicted. Much like the women in Kyle Walker's life, Pep seems to be prepared to stand by this guy, even though he's a liability. He possibly was at fault for the first goal, definitely was at fault for the second goal, because he took it upon himself to mark Gabriel, touched him in the chest a few times, and then still let him score. And overall, I think Walker's bigger issue is what he doesn't give to City's attacking play. You saw that second 45 minutes. Every time Arsenal just let Walker and Diaz have the ball, and both of them proceeded to take pot shots and did nothing with it. You would expect Rico Lewis to offer a lot more in the attacking play. So it's a tough one because he's now more expensive than when we started. I think if you had Rico Lewis from the start, you bought him cheap. I'm not gonna sell, and I would be tempted to keep him even on a wild card because there is that chance that he comes back into the team. And if he does, he's still great value. And the Rodri injury, while bad, I don't think is gonna hurt City when they're playing the likes of Wolves and Southampton and Bournemouth. You still will back City to win those games, probably with a clean sheet. Maybe, maybe not. But if Rico Lewis is what he was 2 games ago, then he's still a very good option. So I think what we've always said about Rico Lewis continues to hold. Great option if you have backup. You don't go in as he's your third defender, but if you got backup, he's a good option.
You know what? I was really happy the fact that he got benched but didn't even come on. That's what I like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have your own bench who can come in for Rico Lewis. If he gets benched, then you're good.
Just to wrap up, I see a couple of people sacrificing Trent on wildcard, and I'm very happy about that because I'm going to get his points. Because I think you and I both agree, Sam, Trent really should have more returns at this point, and he's going to get more returns.
I think Trent is a must-have. Most people, I would think, are sacrificing Trent because they want Salah and Haaland, right? And maybe they're struggling to fit in everyone. But I think Trent is a priority.
And I think I was listening to, I think it was the Double Pivot podcast, one of these stat-heavy stuff, and they were talking about how Slot has basically made this team more solid is make Robertson defend more. So Robertson has taken, I think, half the touches in the penalty box that he had last season. And so he's definitely playing a more withdrawn role. And that kind of matches up with the eye test. You don't see, I think week 2, he was getting some shots, but since then he's kind of been way more withdrawn. Whereas Trent is still bombing forward. And for that, you get what you pay for. I think the 1 million difference is quite big. And as good as Konate was this week, as good as the assist was, I don't think Konate is going to be assisting from his own box, with Xabi Alonso type passes every week.
Yep, fair.
Okay, I think
so is that it?
That is it, right? I mean, we've covered everything. I mean, goalkeeper's not even up for debate. If you don't have David Raya after this week and you have a wildcard played, delete your team.
All right. So then, last one, Siva, captaincy.
Okay. Now this is serious stuff, right? It's really difficult, right? Do you captain Saka against a promoted team at home? He's on pens. Arsenal will be definitely winning this game. It's just a question of how much. Or do you captain some dude on a team that's just lost their main man and he's regressing quite a bit? He's down by 33% from his goal scored last week. And he's losing his head. He's swearing at people at the end.
50%.
50% reduction. Math is not my strong point. Yeah. Throwing balls at opposition players, barging into people. I mean, do you really want someone as out of form as Erling Haaland as your captain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna captain Erling Haaland this week.
Why is that, Sam?
Because I don't have him in my team. However, I like my 2 captaincy options this week. So my options will be either Saka at home against Leicester or Watkins away against Ipswich. And I'm happy with that. I think those are nice fixtures and rated very highly on the X-Spice, I think.
X-Spice, to be fair, did come through. Actually, it did, Sam, because you said Haaland is an interesting, spicy pick last week because no one would captain him. And you know, as far as Nando's theories go, you weren't off the mark.
Yeah, it's true. And my Watkins pick kind of matched Aaron Salah's pick, so it wasn't a failure, but it wasn't a success. But the fact that it wasn't a failure makes it a success. Does that make sense, Siva? When you're going for this kind of differentials and spicy picks, right? As long as it doesn't fail, it's a success.
I didn't know you were Buddha, Sam, but I mean that's a profound stuff, right there. I mean, if you have Haaland, I think not even up for debate. Newcastle
No, I'll debate it. I'll debate it. Newcastle has
Newcastle
not
have,
been good. However, City without Rodri. We'll see without KDB as well.
you are
We'll see how that goes.
you are clutching at straws, mate. I mean,
No, but
City
I
have
think
been
against a newly promoted team like Saka at home, Arsenal at home, against a newly promoted team, one of the worst defense in the entire league right now, I think he can outscore Haaland
he's not going to.
this
But
week
I
alone.
appreciate I appreciate that you are a man deep in denial, so I won't talk you out of it. But there's no chance, mate. Haaland is scoring at least 2 goals this week. Newcastle have been really
Fair,
bad, and I think on a serious note, I think the lack of Rodri means this team has to attack. And they're not really going to, not that they were ever going to sit back and defend, but all the more reason, no DM, just go
Mhm.
for it. I think, and Haaland's in the mood. I'm quite happy that he's getting worked up at the end and all that. Just shows that he's in the zone. I think
Yeah, Arteta. What do you say? Stay humble?
stay humble, mate. Oh, what are you? Okay, but it's good to know he has emotions. Like you always assume he's just some robot and all that. It's
Yeah.
finally got some spice in this league. Yeah.
Downloaded the emotion pack into his system.
I just got his update. Okay. Okay.
All right,
Right.
guys. I think that's it from us this week.
Yeah. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend. You know what to do. Yeah. And we'll
Get
see
your
you
green
next week. But in
arrows.
the meantime, Sam.
Get your green arrows, guys. See you next week.